I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, honestly. My wife Emily had always been the kind of woman who could charm her way out of any mess, quick with a lie, quick with a smile, and always convinced herself she was the smartest person in the room. We've been together for nearly 10 years, married for 5, and yeah, it's had its ups and downs, but I genuinely thought we were solid. Until the last few months, things started feeling off. She was more distant, short-tempered, and would get defensive whenever I asked if something was wrong. I chalked it up to stress, work, family stuff, whatever. I never suspected the real reason was sitting right across from me, hiding in plain sight. It all started with little things: missing money from our joint account, her suddenly being too busy to answer her phone, and odd texts she'd quickly delete when I walked into the room. I didn't want to jump to conclusions because I figured maybe I was just overthinking it. But then came the bigger signs. Her phone pinged at weird hours, she'd come home smelling different, and she started wearing these new perfumes I'd never even heard of. Still, I tried to tell myself I was paranoid. Maybe I was just imagining things. Then 2 weeks ago, I noticed her acting even more erratic. She was sneaking around, avoiding me at dinner, and there was this strange energy in her eyes, like she was constantly on edge. One night, I decided to check her phone while she was asleep. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but the gut feeling was so strong that I couldn't ignore it anymore. I unlocked her phone. I didn't find anything explicit, but I did stumble upon a string of messages, flirtatious, suggestive, one even hinting at plans to meet someone. My stomach dropped. Who was she talking to, and why was she hiding it? I was furious but also confused as hell. I confronted her the next morning, trying to keep my voice even. She looked annoyed, like I was bothering her, and she told me I was just imagining things, that I was paranoid, that she loved me but was under a lot of stress. I pressed her, asking who she was texting, and she snapped at me, told me to grow up, that I was a controlling bastard. I didn't know what to think anymore. Was I losing my mind, or was she hiding something? I felt this gnawing suspicion that everything I believed about us was a lie. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down I knew she was hiding something, and I was starting to suspect what it was. A few days passed, and I kept feeling that prickling sensation, like ants crawling up my spine every time I saw her. I was trying to pretend everything was normal, but failing miserably. I was a mess, honestly. I couldn't focus at work, kept replaying her shady texts, and every little thing she said or did seemed suspicious. I even started checking her social media, though I knew I shouldn't. It became a kind of obsession. I needed to know the truth, even if I didn't want it. Then late one night, I decided to do something I normally wouldn't, something I'd regret later, but I felt I had no choice. I installed a hidden app on her phone, something to track her location and monitor her messages. I told myself I was doing it for peace of mind, but deep down, I knew I was just spiraling. That night, I stayed up late watching her phone screen, waiting for something, anything that would confirm my fears. And then it happened. The GPS pinged her at a hotel downtown, and I saw the message thread. She was with someone, no, not just someone. It was the guy she'd been flirting with, the one she called Mark in her texts. I recognized his name from a mutual friend I'd seen her message him about. My stomach clenched. They were together, and from the timestamps, it looked like they'd been there for hours. My mind spun. How long had she been lying? How many times had she betrayed me? It was like my entire world shattered in that moment. I couldn't sleep after that. I sat in the dark, feeling this intense mix of hurt and rage. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly like a fool. How did I miss all the signs? How did I let this happen? I kept asking myself if I'd been blind, if I'd been too focused on work or her supposed needs to see the truth. I'd always trusted her, always thought she was loyal. Turns out that was just a beautiful lie. The next morning, I woke up furious. I made up my mind. There was no way I'd let her get away with this, not after everything. I felt like I was standing on the edge of something dark and irreversible, but I knew I had to confront her. Just as I was about to wake her up, I heard a strange noise coming from the living room. Someone was in the house. I froze. My heart pounded. I slipped out of bed and crept toward the door quietly. I peeked around the corner and saw her, Emily, on the phone, whispering, her voice tense, sitting on the couch looking guilty as hell. I didn't recognize the guy she was talking to, but I knew it was Mark. I just knew. That moment hit me like a punch to the gut. I stood there, frozen, watching her. My mind was racing. I had the evidence, her sneaking around, the hotel location, the secret phone calls. All of it confirmed what I suspected. She was cheating on me with her grief counselor's husband. That thought alone made my stomach turn. How sick is that? She's the one supposed to be supporting me after my mom died, and she's out there, screwing around with some guy who's supposed to be dealing with his own grief, probably using his wife as an excuse or maybe just a free-for-all. I don't even know anymore. I decided I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. I had to confront her, but I also knew I needed a plan. I took a deep breath, stepped out into the living room, and she looked up, startled. Her face instantly went blank, like she knew she was caught. She stammered, trying to come up with some bullshit explanation. "What are you doing here? Who are you? How long have you been in the house?" I demanded, my voice cold but controlled. She looked me in the eyes, and for a second she tried the innocent act. "I was just on the phone," she said, voice shaky. "It's nothing, just work stuff." "Yeah, right." I told her I knew about Mark, about the hotel, the texts, the whole 9 yards. Her face twisted with anger, then outright denial. "You're crazy, Matt. You're just jealous. Stop accusing me of something I didn't do." I laughed bitterly. "Jealous? Are you kidding me? You've been screwing around behind my back and you think I'm jealous? You've been lying to me for months. The texts, the late nights, the hotel, this isn't just some misunderstanding. You've been cheating, Emily, and I saw everything." Her eyes flashed with rage and she snapped, "You're pathetic, you know that. Can't handle a little womanizing. Maybe you're the one with the problem." That's when I snapped. All the hurt and rage bottled up just exploded. I told her how I'd been feeling, how I'd known something was wrong but ignored all the signs because I wanted to believe she was loyal. I told her I found her with Mark, that I knew she'd been lying to my face. Her face contorted even more and she spat. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're delusional. I'm sick of your accusations. If you want to be a jealous little bitch, go ahead. But I'm done pretending I care." At that point, I was done too. I just looked at her, feeling an emptiness I'd never known. All the love, all the trust, ripped apart in a second. I realized that no matter what she said or did, she'd already destroyed everything. The woman I married, the woman I loved, gone. That moment changed me forever. I knew I had to make a decision, but honestly I felt like I'd already lost myself in that confrontation. I didn't even know who I was anymore, standing there, staring at her, feeling the weight of betrayal crushing me from all sides. The aftermath hit me like a freight train. I stood there, staring at her, and for a moment, everything was silent except for my ragged breathing. Her face was twisted in anger, defiance, and maybe even a hint of fear, like she knew she'd crossed a line and couldn't undo it. I felt cold inside, but I also felt something else, something that surprised me, a strange sense of clarity. I told her to pack her things. I didn't want her near me anymore. I needed space to breathe, to think. She went into a rage, calling me every name in the book, pathetic, insecure, jealous, a fool, and told me I was overreacting. She kept insisting she loved me, that it was just a mistake, that Mark was just a friend, that I was crazy for accusing her of something so terrible. But I didn't buy it. Not anymore. She was lying so much I was surprised her words didn't turn to ash in her mouth. Watching her pack her bags while she threw her lies around was a sick feeling. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so trusting. How could the person I loved betray me like that? After everything we'd been through, after the funeral, after I thought we were supposed to support each other. Instead, she was out there screwing around and I had been the fool, the one left in the dust. I felt the rage bubble up again, but I knew I had to stay calm, at least on the outside. Inside, it was pure chaos. She finally stormed out, slamming the door behind her, leaving me alone in the apartment. I sat on the couch, staring at the empty doorway. My mind was a tornado of thoughts, anger, sadness, betrayal. I kept replaying everything she'd said and done. I realized that the woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone I didn't even recognize. All the plans we made, the future I'd imagined, gone, shattered in that moment. I never wanted to see her again, but the truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about her. About what she did, how she lied, how she betrayed everything we had. The next few days were a blur. People kept telling me to move on, to forget her, but I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her lies, her betrayal. I questioned everything, my judgment, my trust, my love. It hurt that someone I'd fought so hard for, someone I'd given so much to, could just throw it all away for some fleeting sex with her counselor's husband. I wondered how she could look me in the eyes and lie so effortlessly, how she could pretend everything was fine when she was out there cheating on me behind my back. I also started noticing small things, things I'd missed before. The way she avoided my gaze, the way she'd flinch whenever I asked about her whereabouts, and that sneaky little smirk she'd get when she thought I wasn't looking. It was like she was reveling in her deception. That realization made my stomach turn even more. I knew I had to do something, but I also felt like I was caught in some kind of nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The trust was gone, and I didn't know if I could ever rebuild what she destroyed. All I knew was that I'd never look at her the same way again, and I'd be damned if I let her keep lying to me, pretending everything was normal. In the days that followed, I couldn't escape the feeling of emptiness that settled deep inside my chest. Every corner of the apartment seemed to echo with her absence, but at the same time, it was filled with memories, some good, most terrible now. I kept replaying that night over and over in my head, trying to find some shred of hope, some way this could all be a mistake, but the evidence was clear. She'd been lying, cheating, while I was drowning in grief over my mother's passing. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach every time I remembered her sneaking around, her lies, her fake tears that she used to manipulate everyone. My mind kept circling back to the footage I found, footage I installed from the funeral home security cameras. I had no intention of spying on her like some psycho, but after everything, I had to know the truth. I never imagined what I'd see that day. The footage showed her meeting with Mark, the grief counselor's husband, right outside the funeral service. They looked so casual, so comfortable. They weren't just talking, they were kissing, holding each other, touching as if they didn't care who saw, and it wasn't just once. It was several times. During the funeral, after the service, even late at night when I'd assumed she was home, she was with him. Seeing it all laid out on video was like a punch in the gut. I felt humiliated, betrayed, angry all at once. I'd always thought she was my support, the person I could lean on. Instead, she was out there screwing around with a man who was supposed to be helping him through grief, just like she was doing with me. How sick is that? How twisted do you have to be? I watched the footage over and over, trying to process what I saw. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, had been lying to me the entire time. I knew I had to confront her again, this time with the evidence in hand. I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I needed her to admit it, to face what she'd done. When I finally saw her again, she was trying to spin some crazy story about how she was just talking to Mark, nothing more, that it was a mistake she'd regret forever. She looked me dead in the eyes and told me she loved me, that she wasn't cheating, just confiding in him because I was distant and cold. Yeah, right. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. That was the biggest crock of bullshit I'd ever heard. I told her I'd seen everything, every secret message, every damn stolen moment. Her face went pale, and she tried to lie her way out of it, saying it was all innocent, that I was blowing things out of proportion, that I was paranoid. But I didn't buy it. Not anymore. I told her that her lies didn't matter anymore because I had proof, cold, undeniable proof. She stood there, silent for a moment, then suddenly became furious, screaming that I was ruining her life, that I was crazy for accusing her of something so terrible. I felt a strange mix of sadness and rage. She had turned into a stranger overnight, someone I didn't recognize, and I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. That night I packed her bags myself. I didn't want her here anymore. I told her to leave, to find her happiness with Mark or whoever the hell she thought she deserved. She called me every name in the book, begged me to stay, said it was just a mistake, that we could fix it. But I knew better now. You don't cheat on someone at their lowest point, then try to brush it off. You don't lie to someone for months and expect everything to just go back to normal. Normal was gone, and I was done pretending it was. The pain was still raw, but I knew I had to move on, even if I didn't know what that looked like yet. The days that followed were some of the hardest I've ever lived through. The house, now empty of her presence, felt suffocating, like I was trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I tried to keep busy, throw myself into work, but nothing could drown out the ache in my chest. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her lies, her betrayal, and it haunted me. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought it could, not just because she cheated, but because she did it during my most vulnerable moment when I was trying to grieve my mother. How could she be so callous, so selfish? It's one thing to cheat, but to do it when someone's grieving, that's a whole different level of cruelty. I spent a lot of nights lying awake, replaying everything in my head. The moments I missed, the signs I ignored, the times I trusted her when I shouldn't have. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, how I let her manipulate me and get away with it for so long. But mostly I felt angry at her, at myself, at how life could just turn on a dime like this. I didn't sleep much, and when I did, I'd wake up with nightmares where she'd be laughing at me, telling me I was stupid for ever trusting her. In all that chaos, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her ruin me. I couldn't. I had to find a way to move forward, even if I didn't know how right now. I started going to therapy, which helped a little. Not because I wanted to forgive her, hell no, but because I needed to understand how someone I loved could turn into this stranger. Slowly, I realized that the betrayal wasn't just her cheating on me. It was the way she lied, manipulated, and played with my feelings. That realization started to set me free, little by little. I also reached out to some friends, people I trusted, and told them everything. I needed to get it off my chest. They listened, they offered support, but mostly they told me to focus on myself. I took their advice seriously. I started exercising again, eating better, trying to reconnect with parts of my life I'd neglected. It wasn't easy. Some days I wanted to crawl into a hole and just disappear. But I knew I had to be strong for myself, for my mom, for the memory of the man I used to be before all this happened. And here's what I learned from all of it. Trust is fragile. Love is fragile. And sometimes people you think are your forever turn out to be just temporary stops on the journey. I don't hate her, at least not anymore. I just feel sorry for her. Sorry that she threw away what we had for what was probably some fleeting thrill. As for me, I'm done with her lies. I'll pick up the pieces of my life, rebuild what I can, and keep going. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is that I survive this, stronger than before. And maybe someday I'll find someone who's worth my trust again.